Waterfowler41 here, and in today's video we're going to be installing an LED ambient lighting kit in my 23 Raptor. So a couple weeks ago my kids and I were driving around in the truck and they said, "Dad, whatever happened to those really cool lights you had in your last truck?" So in the Ram I had a lot of red ambient lighting kit, or ambient lighting in the cab of the truck, and it really looked nice. I said, "Guys, I do have it." I showed them the dismal kit we have in these Raptors from the factory, and they said, "Cool, but that's boring." So their reaction said, let's go on F150LEDs.com, pick up their LED ambient lighting kit, and let's install that because this one is a request of my kids and I want to keep them happy. And obviously I like doing truck projects, so here we are. What comes in the kit? So obviously the kit comes in a box here. You get your main harness. It's all one piece. So all, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All 7 LED strips are all connected to one main hub, and then there's a power supply that uses one of the fuses on your truck. So when you turn your truck on, your kit gets power and it turns everything on. So it's going to basically act like a factory ambient lighting kit. You get a remote that communicates with the module on the LED kit, so we could change the colors. Then you get some adhesion promoter, so you get some alcohol prep wipes, so some isopropyl alcohol to clean the surfaces, some RTV if you're going to use it, and then gloves if you're going to use the RTV so you don't get any of that gunk on your hands. A bunch of zip ties, and then some fuse tap tips. So basically what this does is it goes through most year F-150s and F-250s and Mavericks and tells you if you're going to install this kit and you want it to turn on when your truck turns on, here's the fuse location inside the cab that you're going to use. In our case, we're going to use fuse slot number 2, which is going to turn this on with the accessories circuit. So when the truck turns on, ambient light turns on. When the truck's off, ambient light's off. Now, there is a lot going on in that harness, and I figured it's best to just do a little diagram here. So there are several lengths of wires, and each length of wire is already pre-measured and pre-cut to fit in specific locations. So we're going to start with the shortest one, and then essentially this is what we're going to be looking at the end of the day. Here's our steering wheel, here's our dash, our seats, and then our console, and we're going to light up all of this stuff. The shortest 2 wires are for your passenger seat, and that's because this hub here, the main hub where all the wires come out of, is also going to live underneath your passenger seat at the end of the project. So the hub's here, and then you got your 2 shortest wires here on the front and back of the seat. That's going to give you ambient for the foot here. It's going to give you some ambient in the back seat. So we're getting some coverage in the back seat, which is nice. The second shortest wire, which is a single wire, is going to go in your console. We're going to figure out where we want to mount that one once we get it in the console. There's a lot of options. The third shortest set of wires, so there's 2 now, those will go for the front and back of the driver's side seat. So the 4th shortest wire is wire D, and that's going to go for the passenger side dash. So again, it's got to go from the hub up the sill and then to the dash, or it could go up this way. We'll figure out which way works best. The last wire that we're going to install is for the driver's side, and obviously it has to go all the way from the hub here across the cab, up the sill, and then underneath the dash. And then our power supply is going to live in the footwell on the passenger side because that's where the fuse box is in the truck. So really, the project is all going to start right behind the passenger seat. So our hub's going to be here. Let's go ahead and get our LED harness untangled or kind of uncoiled. And what we'll do is we'll start from the furthest wire away and work our way to the hub. So on the front of the hub, you basically have 1 wire going in, and then you have the rest of the channels coming out. That 1 wire going in is your power supply. Ultimately, that's going to run all the way up to the footwell of the passenger side. Then as you go down, you're going to start to get to the shorter length wires, and then you make your way all the way to the longest wire. This portion of the wire harness is going to live underneath that passenger seat. So what I'm going to do now is just go ahead and rough in all of the lights. So I'm just going to put the harness here, and I'm just going to run them to where they need to go, and then we'll tackle them individually as to how I'm going to tuck the wire so it's nice and hidden. All right, so I just finished up roughing in all the wires, and it was actually a lot easier than I thought. So again, that little hub is underneath that seat, and you see a bunch of wires going over there. All 3 of those wires are driver side seat and driver side dash wires. So there's 2 for the seat, 1 for the dash. I basically, for the sake of time right now, until I could tuck everything, I just ran them in front of the console. Ultimately, what we'll do is once we get everything installed and in their final home, we'll use a trim tool to pop these guys underneath there. It goes underneath the seat frame, comes out around the back of the dash, so then we could pop everything in there. 2 wires go through the bottom of the seat, 1 of them for the front of the driver's side seat, and the other one is going to cut to the outside, and I'll show you that one in a second. The driver's side dash wire is going to go underneath the seat and cut to the outside, ride the sill plate up so I can mount that one underneath the dash. And then you see the rear driver's seat LED right there just dangling that's where it's going to go underneath the seat. All right, and then I ran the passenger side dash as well as the front passenger seat LED underneath the seat, and then I have the console one just sitting up on the seat for now. So I mentioned that the driver's side dash and possibly the passenger side dash are actually going to pop underneath the carpet and go up the sill plate. So if we look underneath the seat here, you can see there's a slit in the carpet. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pull up this sill plate and I'm going to fish the passenger side dash wire underneath this carpet so I can pull it into the sill plate so we don't see any wires here. We're going to do the same exact thing on the driver's side. All right, so we're on the driver's side there. Like I said, there's a slit in the carpet, and you can see that black wire that's popped through right there. That is the driver's side dash wire. It pops out right there, and then you see I have it coiled up. Ultimately, I'm going to run it along that sill plate, and then what's going to happen is we're going to go up underneath here. There is a plastic panel right here, and this is what that LED is going to attach to. So we're going to run it up here. I'll zip tie up the extra wire in this kick plate here, and then we'll mount the driver's side dash light right there. Then what we're going to do is take the driver's side front seat LED, make sure all the wires are clear of anything moving underneath the seat. So it's a good idea to cycle your seat up and down just to make sure these wires are free of any of the linkages. And then this LED is going to strap right to that guy. So it's double sticked adhesive here. Pull out the red backing, clean it up with some isopropyl, and stick it right there. If we can, we'll zip tie some of it. Then we'll go to the back of the seat. And underneath the seat, it's really dirty, but underneath the seat, there's a bunch of elastic cords. And that's what's holding the factory seat cover on. And all we're gonna do is pull the backing off here, slide this lighting up underneath those elastic cords, and that will be plenty to hold it into place. So we're gonna get the backlighting down here. All right, while I'm running all of the driver's side wires over to the other side, I told you that I would tuck underneath the center console. I'm just using a flat little trim tool just to pry everything up, just enough to get those wires pushed underneath there. And then they pop out underneath the seat. You don't see them at all, but we'll ultimately have 3 wires popping out a couple inches after they pass this visible area, and then those will go underneath the driver's side seat. So, all right, now that everything is at home, we can take a look at it. We'll start with our front dash. Driver's side dash light. We'll move to the front of the seat. I'll show you where that's mounted and move to the back of the seat. It's going to be some tight angles. Apologies for all the camera movement. But here is the driver's side LED. You can see the strips right to that plastic panel underneath the dash. I run the wire up, around, and then it drops down to the sill plate. And if you remember, it pops right through the carpet over here. Then, if we turn around, underneath the driver's side seat, you can see the LED strip there. It's mounted right to that plastic panel. And then I just zip tie the inboard side of that wire up to a bar. That way, when the seat moves around, that wire is not dangling in the way of the seat track and getting crunched. So let's go to the back of the seat, and I'll show you that one. That was probably the easiest of the 3, but it'll be the hardest one for me to get in and see. So underneath the seat, you have these little rubber bands, and that is what the LED strip is mounted up underneath. You can see right there. I just pull it up over each of those straps. So that's where I ran that LED, and then the last thing I did is I cycled the seat up and down, forward and back, just to make sure that the wires that are coming out from the dash into those 3 lights aren't going to get in the way of any sort of track, and make sure you go underneath all of the harnesses so you're not getting tangled on any of those. So now that I'm a little winded from contorting myself underneath that seat, we're going to pop over to the passenger side, do the exact same thing to the seat. Get the rear light, use the elastic bands, do the front light. A little bit different on that one, I'll show you, and then we'll focus on the dash light. We'll try to do the console, and then we'll run power to everything and power this up and see what it looks like. All right, so I'm working through the passenger side here. So quick stock take, a little bit, some differences, not totally different, but there's a few nuances. The passenger side dash LED, instead of like the driver's side where I had enough length to run it up here and across, I have to actually run it through the center console and then up and over. There's not enough length to really make this turn. It would have been nice, but whatever, it is what it is. We're going to tuck it up underneath that trim panel, and then it'll adhere and clip into actually these metal clips here. So it'll look nice there, give it a nice clean home. Whatever excess wire I have, I could tuck underneath this. There's a lot of play in that dash. The front light for the seat, we do not have that plastic panel underneath the seat like we did on the driver's side. So that LED is actually going to get zip tied to this silver bar here. Here's our light. I just went ahead and pulled all the wires up over the harnesses underneath the seat. Like I said, and I cannot stress this enough, cycle the seats a few times to figure out where things need to be so they're not in the way of any of the movement, any of the tracks or whatnot, and you don't want to crush these wires. Then the last thing I did is for the power, I ran it through the passenger side sill plate. It's ultimately going to tie into the fuse box in that little kick panel. Fuse box is right here, and what we're looking for is fuse position number 2, which is that top 10 amp fuse, that top red fuse. So we're going to pull that fuse out, plug that fuse into the ATA fuse that they came in the kit, and then re-plug everything back in. You might need to wiggle it in underneath that blue or the green tab up on top, but that'll give us our accessory power. And then we'll run that wire from the fuse box up to the glove box, coil up everything down here, and then we're in good shape. All right, so slight change of plans. Originally, I was going to throw it in the glove box, but I found a better spot. So you can see the module there. It's zip tied to a wire harness that passes over the fuse box. What that allows me to do is then put this little remote sensor just inside the footwell so I could get access to it without having to pull any panels out or without having to open up the glove box. So I think that's a pretty slick location. I tested it out from the driver's seat. It does work well. Took the rest of the wires, zip tied them up in the sill plate. So let's go ahead and put everything back together, and then I will show you what these guys look like with the dark garage, and then we'll close out this video. But all the extra slack from the power wire as well as the control wire just went in the sill plate just like I did on the driver's side, and I just tucked it away and used about a couple thousand zip ties to keep everything nice and tight. Okay, so I got totally hung up on running the power that I forgot to run the console light. So console access is pretty simple. All you want to do is basically push on the chrome piece and push straight out. So if I push right here, this will open up that trim piece. Push here, it releases all of these pressure clips. Then you want to run your wire for the LED behind that trim piece, and then all we're going to do here is just trying to make sure that that guy's right tucked away in the corner, and then close it up here. So everything will pinch in fine. Again, I'm not too concerned about exposed wires going into the center console. It really doesn't bug me too much. Then you got a lot of options. You can put the LED wherever you want. You got a lot of length on that wire to run it wherever you want in here. I went ahead and took the LED, pulled the backing off, and I stuck it right up underneath this ledge here so it shines straight down. I don't need a ton of light in there, but it is nice to have a nice home and not really see that LED once it's installed. So let's close up everything, get the lights out of here, get it dark, and then we could take a look at what these ambient lights look like once we get a little, I guess, once we get no light on them, so we can see just how well they light up the footwells. All right, so just hopping in the car here, you could see the OEM ambient lights are on, albeit very dim. It's that ugly teal color, but they're on. I know earlier in the video I said I might disable those because I had the new lights, but I actually like them on, and I'll explain why in a few minutes here. But anyway, F-150 lights, they turn on when your vehicle's on, so let's go ahead and turn the truck on, and you can see the brightness is awesome. And this isn't even full brightness. On the remote here, you have up and down, so I could turn them brighter, I could turn them dimmer. I actually like it 1 or 2 presses off of the lowest dim setting, and I like it that way because it does give you really nice coverage in the footwell, but also eliminates the reflection off the window. I have darker window tint, and if it's too bright in the footwell, it does reflect off the window. So that's what white. Hopefully this is getting picked up, but I know white balance on these GoPros can kind of throw things off for a loop. Here's blue. Here is green, yellow. What is that? Pink, red, orange, yellow, and let's go through blue and purple. So hopefully that picks it up. The coverage is awesome with the under dash, under front seat, and then under the back of the front seat. It really does give everything a nice glow. You can see in the rear. Hopefully it's picking it up. Doubt it though. But again, a lot of cool functionality with the colors, and I like being able to change the colors. I didn't think I would run any color other than amber. I thought amber would be it. So this is the color I thought I'd run, and I thought that complements the factory ambient lighting nicely. But turns out I actually really do like blue, and the reason I like blue is because it matches the screen, so it kind of pulls everything together. So blue, really, you can't go wrong with it. Blue is awesome. I've been rocking that one. My kids love it. My son's hockey team is purple, so sometimes on the way to games we'll rock purple. But for the time being, we're gonna rock blue here. But anyway, like I said, I like to run the OEM I like to leave the ambient factory lights on because let's say we go to get out of the car, you turn off the car and you open the door. The F-150 lights turn off, and then the factory lights still shine. So it's a nice little transition from having the really bright lights to having a nice little exit or entrance lamp here. So that's why I kept them on. Once the F-150 LED lights are on, they're actually so much brighter than the factory ones that you don't even see any of the factory ones at all. But let's go ahead and fire everything back up again. But anyway, that is how you install the F-150 LEDs ambient kit. This is what they look like in the truck. by all means, go ahead and pull the trigger on it. This is a really cool upgrade for your truck. It does complement the interior nicely, and like I said, with the blue, it does look nice with the screen. But what I'll do here, just for the sake of you all seeing the back seat, I'll hop in the back seat with the lights on, and we'll take a look at what that coverage looks like as well, and then we'll close this bad boy out. All right, so we're in the back seat here. Obviously, you get a nice little underglow, but it's not an overwhelming amount. This is on the lowest dim setting, so let's see if I can get it from here. Yeah, so I could turn them up if I wanted to, or turn it down. Still, that sensor is still able to get picked up by the remote from the back seat. So wherever I have it underneath the passenger side dash is actually working really well, and it's not in the way and it's not going to get kicked. But anyway, this is the F-150 LEDs ambient lighting kit. I like the way this turned out. It looks great. Kids love it. I like it. It's a nice little pop, and really $200 is not that much for what this kit gives you on the interior of the truck. So with that said, thank you very much for watching. I will leave a link down to this guy down in the description below. My wife just got home. We got to go get the kids from school, but have a good one. Thanks a lot. Bye.